Welcome to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name is Jared Mello. Today we're going to go over how a narcissistic parent conditions their children to love narcissists. So often what you see is someone who has a narcissistic romantic partner. You look back at their upbringing and they either had a narcissistic parent or an absent parent. But why is this so likely? Why does this happen so much? It's because the narcissistic parent becomes your initial trauma bond that primed you to be into narcissistic people as an adult. Let me explain. A trauma bond is an attachment we form with someone who has harmed us, and it's usually a pattern of intermittent rewards and punishments. And that's exactly what the bond is between a narcissistic parent and the child. Now, the child, they do not choose their caregivers, and they try to attach to whatever is there. And the narcissistic parent, they will have hot and cold days. They will love bomb, and then they will also devalue. And that is what the child begins to associate with love. They associate love with chaos. They associate love with dysfunction. They learned that they have to earn love, and that is normal. And it's important to note, even if this whole dynamic is mostly negative, it is still not all negative. There will still be some good days. There will still be some love bombing, no matter how few days of love bombing there will be. But the whole process will be intermittent rewards, and that's what makes gambling so addictive. Now, the narcissistic parent, they might validate you for how you look. They might love bomb you about your achievements, and you begin to try to really work hard to earn that narcissistic parent's love. But inevitably what happens is there will be a devalue where they'll begin to belittle you, invalidate your reality, gaslight you, minimize your thoughts and your concerns, and otherwise tear down your sense of self-worth. And that pattern goes on and on. And when you attach to a caregiver like this, often you might get an anxious attachment. Maybe you'll get an insecure attachment and a dismissive avoidant attachment. But rarely will you develop a secure attachment with a caregiver that is like that. And this is what primes you to be into narcissistic people as an adult. So you go into adulthood, and a narcissistic adult love bombs you. And that seems familiar to you. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, this sounds familiar. This seems familiar. But then they begin to devalue you, and that's familiar as well. And that feels safe, even though it wasn't safe. And this is where I see people, men and women alike, if they don't get that chaos, it doesn't feel right to them. It doesn't feel normal. But this is why they also say, if home was not a safe place for you, you do really need to be careful with people who feel like home as an adult. And when we begin to associate love with chaos, love with dysfunction, then that is something we have to be aware of, because when we meet people like that, just because it's normal to us doesn't mean it's healthy. This is why they also say character over chemistry. We might not always have chemistry with people that are good for us, but that is the conditioning here. Those intermittent rewards and punishments, hot and cold days, and we associate love with chaos. And if you don't get that cycle of love bombing and then devaluing, it just doesn't feel right. But most importantly, though, what do we do about this cycle? That's really what's important. And to me, what we do is we break free from the trauma bond and we go no contact. That's what we do when it's a narcissistic adult in a romantic relationship. Go no contact. And then from there, what happens is we have to develop our own interests, develop our hobbies, our likes and dislikes, friendships perhaps, our career, our mind, body, and spirit. And we really got to work on ourselves. And for me, what I do is I try to practice radical self-respect in all areas of my life. And for me, that is the buffer between me and people who are bad for me, because I'm not going to allow mistreatment in my life. If someone's consistently going to mistreat me, disrespect me, or not appreciate me, I'm going to notice, because I practice radical self-respect and I developed awareness. Sometimes practicing radical self-respect means repairing relationships with our parents, but I also fully recognize sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes we should go no contact with them too. But where possible, we probably should try. But if not possible, then okay, break free from that. And here's the other thing. I'm not here to tell anyone what is going to work for them in their own life. If you think you can handle someone, by all means, try to handle them. But just be really honest with yourself about what your boundaries are and what your lines are. And that's what I say about practicing radical self-respect too. We all might have different levels of what we're going to tolerate, but we really have to be mindful and aware and honest with ourselves. What are we willing to accept and not accept? Because if we take on too much, we might develop resentments. But practicing radical self-respect, to me, that is the antidote to all of this. So to reiterate what I've spoken about here, a narcissistic parent becomes the initial trauma bond that primes people for a relationship with a narcissist as an adult. The hot and cold days, associating love with chaos, the love bombing, the validating your looks or your accomplishments, that meshes well with the love bombing of a narcissist as an adult. But then also the inevitable devaluing, the belittling, the invalidating, the gaslighting, the minimizing your thoughts and your concerns and your reality. All of those things mesh together. And that's the cycle, the intermittent rewards with punishments. That's what becomes so addictive. And the relationship you had and the attachment you had with your parent, that's the initial trauma bond. And often people will try to recreate their relationship with the dysfunctional parent figure in order to heal that wound. But here's the thing, we have to do that on our own. We can't heal that using someone else as an adult. So we may find someone that is exactly like the parent we had a problem with, but that won't heal it. The best it can do is point us in the right direction and realize what we have to deal with moving forward. Okay, this is the work I have to do on myself. Seeing that person, the romantic partner that's a narcissist, the best it can do is point us in the direction we need to go and say, okay, if not for this narcissistic person, I wouldn't be put on this path. But I think that's why the universe puts people like that in our lives. So we're forced to grow, and we have to become the version of ourselves we're supposed to be, a stronger version of ourselves. And this is what I choose to believe for me, because seeing it that way has really helped me in my own life. And I choose to believe that the reason why narcissistic people were put in my life was for me to learn to practice radical self-respect. That's what I choose to believe. Now, some people have had some awful experiences with this, and I'm not going to say it was good that those things happened to them. But what I will say to them is, look at it in a way that helps you to be the happiest and healthiest version of yourself today, however that looks. I'm not going to tell you how you should do it, but that's just what would be my suggestion. So that's the video for today. And some of this, we talked about this with Chelsea Brooke Cole. She's an LPC who has a book, If Only I'd Known. We recently did an interview together. But what I do normally on this channel is I talk about narcissism, I talk about practicing radical self-respect, and I try to at least do one interview a week. So if you got this far, please remember to like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, maybe share this video with someone else that has been repeating this cycle and over again, and maybe this video can help them to break free from that cycle. I do coach people that are going through this right now. So if you are going through this, reach out to me. My email is in every description box of the video, and we can set up a session to get you going on the path to recovery here and practicing radical self-respect in all areas of your life. And also comment below your thoughts on this video, or if you have anything else to contribute. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.